Hey everyone, and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a huge lineup of news to brief you all on today. Today's date is August 19th, 2025, and it's Tuesday. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. We have so much big news to get into with this war update. Let's go ahead and dive into a major story out of southern Ukraine today in the Zaporizhzhia Oblast. We have reports of a Russian fuel train that has been destroyed by Ukrainian defense forces. Let's start off with this new report here on your screen. Ukrainian defense forces blew up a Russian fuel train near Tokmak. On Tuesday, August 19th, Ukrainian drones blew up a train hauling at least 30 fuel cars, torching 9 of them immediately and igniting a blaze visible from space. Again, this was in the Zaporizhzhia Oblast, an occupied territory held by the Russians. This was new video footage coming out today showing FPV drones slamming into this fuel train. Now, we have reports of at least 7 FPV drones making direct hits on this fuel train, completely destroying it today. And another major hit to Russia's logistics in the south. We have heard of numerous trains being attacked down here before, so this is new video footage coming out today. More information on that story in a minute. We also have reports that Russia's Volgograd oil refinery once again came under attack overnight by Ukrainian drones. Fires reported there on the facility. We'll talk about that story. Also, Ukraine was heavily attacked by Russia last night. 270 drones and 10 missiles being fired. Oil infrastructure in the Poltava region near central Ukraine was targeted. I've got video footage coming out from Kremenchuk today. That's a city that has a massive oil refinery in Ukraine, and that oil refinery came under attack at huge explosions over there last night. We also have reports of lots of news on security guarantees for Ukraine. We'll talk a lot about that today. And also, right now, a meeting is being set up between Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelenskyy. So we'll see if they meet in the future. As yesterday, I did report to you guys at the White House, Trump meeting with European leaders and also Zelenskyy apparently went really well. They actually had a very extended length of talks last night. So we're going to talk about numerous things today. Let's jump into some reports over here on X now. So here we go. We're going to start off here with Max 25. It says fire destroyed a railway depot with Russian fuel. The cars derailed and are still leaking. As Andrushenko reported, the fuel was being delivered to the Zaporizhzhia direction. This happened in the area between Urozane, if I'm saying that right, and Tokmak. So here's just pictures coming out showing this fuel train on fire today, just like what you guys saw in the video footage. Massive hits here to this fuel train, completely being destroyed. I've got a better map I could show you guys. This is kind of like where it was located at in southern Ukraine. Here's the actual coordinates here as well if you guys want to check that out online for yourselves. But I did pull up a map to kind of show you where it's located at. So again, down here in southern Ukraine in the Zaporizhzhia Oblast, we'll go ahead and zoom in, kind of the center of the Zaporizhzhia region. And when we zoom in, we got the city of Tokmak right here. This is a major logistical hub for the Russians. There's lots of ammunition depots that have been struck there before and destroyed. So in between Tokmak and Urozane, if I'm saying that right, is kind of where this took place. There's a rail line that runs right along here through Urozane and keeps going. And right in this area, in this open field, is allegedly where this strike took place, okay? So I'm pretty sure that train was actually traveling, and then it came under attack by Ukrainian drones coming from the north up here on this side. And from what we heard, again, at least 7 drones struck this fuel train, completely destroying it. So there's kind of where it's located at on a map. Let's jump back over to X now with no reports. Russia's confirmed around 6:30 this morning. A drone strike hit a Russian fuel train near Ostrikivka, if I'm saying that right, to Zaporizhzhia region. Several cars were damaged, and the aftermath shows heavy fire. The number of injured is still being clarified. Here's pictures coming out showing this fuel train on fire. Massive fire here, complete destruction to this fuel train. I mean, look at that, guys. Huge explosion. This looks like probably after it was still being attacked and somebody else nearby, maybe somebody that was commanding this train, hopped out of it and started recording as it was being attacked by Ukrainian Defense Force. So you can see massive damage here to this fuel train today. So huge hit to Russia's logistics, going to make it very difficult for them to launch more offensives in the southern direction. Now, we did have drones going into Ukraine overnight, or excuse me, into Russia overnight. This from Max 25, UAV's attack on Russia and Crimea, map from Drone Bomber. So you can see kind of drones just going everywhere last night, but really the major reports that we have coming out from Russia in terms of attacks with these drones is going to be in the Volgograd region right here, right near the city of Volgograd. We have the Volgograd Refinery along this major river that came under attack overnight. But you can see drones just heading down to Crimea, Krasnodar, up here north towards Moscow, it seems like, Saratov regions, Tambov, lots of different regions being attacked by drones. But again, one of the major reports I do have is mainly just the Volgograd Oblast today. So here's these reports now from Vicegrad 24. Drone strike hits Volgograd oil refinery again. Russia's largest oil refinery in Volgograd has come under a drone attack for at least the second time in recent weeks. The strike caused a fire on the roof of the facility. Yeah, I think it's been at least 3, maybe 4 times actually that it came under attack. You can see the refinery right here, and just off to the side there's a fire. So I'm not sure if the refinery actually took direct hits. It's very possible. Lots of fires were breaking out as there was numerous drones attacking this oil refinery again. And this is a refinery that, as far as we know, has been, for the most part, shut down. They've stopped oil intake at this facility. So it looks like Ukraine is still trying to destroy it even more. Here's a map now from Max 25. Drones attacked the Volgograd oil refinery at night. The governor said the fire was caused by falling debris. The carpet plan was implemented at the Volgograd airport. So here's a NASA FIRMS map, which is like a fire map that was indicating numerous fires that broke out near the facility. So you can see some of them were actually on the grounds of the facility itself. Then we had a few that broke out in some of these open fields, and also potentially where we had some homes located over here near this oil refinery. So it could have been drones that were shot down in this area, maybe, that crashed and started fires. But otherwise, definitely some fires indicated at the facility itself. So if I get more information on that, I'll let you guys know. Now for Bliskovka, long-range SSU drones destroyed 2 Russian ammunition depots in the Luhansk region. It was set up in the settlement of Kurakny. Sorry, kind of hard to pronounce that one. A town located on an important railway branch that supplies ammunition to the front line. According to the preliminary data, UAVs hit the warehouse at least 7 times after the explosion as a powerful fire broke out. Fortunately, I don't have any video footage of this today, but the Kyiv Independent, which is a mainstream news outlet out of Ukraine, was actually reporting this today as well. Apparently, this was the case. There was 2 Russian ammunition depots that were destroyed in the Luhansk region. We have been hearing some reports that Ukraine has started to counterattack into the Luhansk region, so I wonder if that's kind of a support system coming from Ukrainian forces on the back end, using these drones to destroy these ammunition depots. That way Ukraine can start to push in. So that's possible also why we're seeing these ammunition depots being destroyed. But otherwise, at least according to reports today, there was 2 that were destroyed in the Luhansk region. That's in eastern Ukraine. Now from Ukrainian Review, at night, the Russians launched a massive combined attack, the main strike being on energy and gas facilities in the Poltava region. Lubny and Kremenchuk were hit by UAVs, and Kremenchuk was also hit with cruise and ballistic missiles. So yeah, mainly these attacks were in the Poltava region, which is kind of in this area. You can see a lot of these drones were striking near here. And Kremenchuk was pretty much the main target. There's a huge refinery over there that has been attacked before by Russian forces. You can see missiles were also going in. This kind of yellow line was missiles heading for the Kremenchuk oil refinery. Lots of drones and explosions in that area as well. You can see a few drones even heading on over to the Kyiv region as well. But primarily Poltava region was the major attack overnight. Now, video from Nexto. While Putin assured Trump over the phone that he seeks peace, the Russian army struck Kremenchuk. The city endured one of the most massive attacks. The occupiers hit with ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and Shaheeds. The city was covered in smoke. Local authorities report that administrative buildings of local energy enterprises were damaged. Fortunately, no casualties were reported, according to regional administration. So that's good news, that nobody was killed in these attacks overnight or harmed, injured in any way. But as far as I know, it's mainly that oil refinery in Kremenchuk, and we have shown that before on maps, a massive refinery that Ukraine uses over there, and that could have been the primary attack, at least according to the information that we have. But otherwise, just massive hits all over Kremenchuk overnight, and we've talked about this city before. It's probably been a good month or so since we last talked about Kremenchuk. Now from Kyiv Post, Russian media published footage of a Kh-101 missile hitting the Kremenchuk oil refinery in Poltava region. The massive attack with Shaheeds, ballistic, and cruise missiles destroyed energy sector buildings and struck gas storage sites. The next day after Zelenskyy and Trump met, Russia launched 280 strikes on Ukraine. Yeah, guys, 270 drones and 10 missiles fired into Ukraine. Check out this video. It's absolutely crazy out of the Kremenchuk oil refinery getting hit by KH-101 cruise missiles by Russia. Take a look. Ебать! Охуеть! Right, so we can see here Russia trying to get some revenge for all their oil refineries getting smashed for the last several weeks, and they carried out a major missile attack here and a huge explosion. I'm not sure exactly what got hit over here, but something definitely blew up at the Kremenchuk oil refinery. You can see some of those smokestacks, so it was definitely at the refinery itself that got hit. And very interesting too, because we typically don't see video footage like this coming out from Ukraine. It's usually in Russia when we see explosions at oil refineries. That's probably one of the first times we've ever seen clear footage of an oil refinery in Ukraine being attacked. Now, Ukrainian Review, Russia struck one of the gas transportation system facilities in Poltava region, Ministry of Energy reports. In addition, oil refining infrastructure facilities were hit. The elimination of the consequences of the Russian attack is ongoing. So look at that. We can see this is the oil refinery located in Kremenchuk. Look at all the fires that broke out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 maybe, or more fires that were breaking out here on the facility of this oil refinery. Okay, so it definitely took some massive hits overnight. I'll follow this story if we get some updates on the amount of destruction on this refinery. I'll report it to you guys. But it looks like it got hit pretty hard overnight by Russian forces. Now, Max 25, unexploded cluster munitions from Russian missiles are scattered all over Kremenchuk. So once again, we're starting to see these cluster balls or cluster munitions that were just scattered everywhere that were unexploded. And these were very dangerous. I mean, imagine if a little kid comes over thinking this is a little ball to play with and it could explode in their hands. This is something we've seen many times throughout Ukraine. These KH-101 cruise missiles, some of them are fitted with cluster munitions to cause maximum damage whenever they attack oil refineries and whatnot, or even just strike civilian targets in Ukraine. Yeah, they've been finding a lot of these all over the place. So these were found once again in the city of Kremenchuk overnight. Now, Max 25, the bodies of 1,000 fallen soldiers were returned to Ukraine. Among others, 5 bodies of defenders who died in captivity were handed over. They were on the list of seriously wounded and seriously ill for exchange in accordance with the Istanbul agreements. So we heard about this yesterday, actually, when Trump met with Zelenskyy. He was actually talking to Zelenskyy about that we might have some Ukrainian soldiers being returned. And I wasn't sure if that was going to be like, soldiers that were prisoners of war that were alive, or if this was like a body swap kind of thing. But it looks like we did have 1,000 soldiers, fallen soldiers, that is, that were returned to Ukraine today. So it's great news that their bodies are returning home, but very sad to report the fallen defenders of Ukraine. Now, Vice Grad 24, Putin ready to meet Zelenskyy. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed that after Trump's call to Putin, Moscow agreed to direct talks. President Trump suggested that Zelenskyy and Putin should meet. Right now, we're working to set up such a meeting somewhere, and of course, that would be unprecedented. If all goes well, I hope the next meeting will already be a summit between Presidents Putin, Trump, and Zelenskyy, where we expect to finalize the deal. That's what was discussed today, how to get to that point, but the very fact that Putin is saying, all right, I'll meet with Zelenskyy is a big deal, Rubio said on Fox News. Yeah, this is what Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State, said today, that Putin is open to meeting Zelenskyy, allegedly. So if that's going to be the case, we should be seeing a meeting being set up between Putin and Zelenskyy directly. They'll be holding like a bilateral meeting first, and then apparently if that meeting goes well, that's when we'll see a trilateral meeting where Trump will get involved, and possibly even a quadrilateral meeting where we could have Europeans involved at some point as well, because some European leaders yesterday were calling for that. We'll see if that happens to be the case, but this is what Marco Rubio said today. So it looks like the U.S. is trying to set up some meeting between Putin and Zelenskyy. Not sure exactly when it's going to be or where it's going to be located at, but we do have some details on that today. Now, Tendar says, Chancellor Friedrich Merz, I doubt that Putin has the courage to meet President Zelenskyy. Yeah, he stated this several times, actually, like once or twice yesterday and again today, that he doesn't believe that Putin is going to be meeting Zelenskyy. We'll see if that's going to be the case. We know for a long time that Putin really just been avoiding trying to meet with Volodymyr Zelenskyy. So Maybe he will, maybe he won't. So let me know if that's going to be the case or not. Now, for next up, Putin suggested meeting with Zelensky in Moscow during his night phone call with Trump, AFP reports. Are you, comrade, a fantasist? The proposal to meet in Moscow seems like pure fantasy, even in the context of the most extravagant diplomatic initiatives. Yeah, so allegedly, AFP reporting today that Putin suggested Zelensky come to Moscow to meet with him. So, once again, it seems like Putin really does not want to leave Moscow at all. He doesn't want to leave Russia and really travel anywhere because obviously he can be arrested. I'm actually surprised he even came to the U.S. Yeah, so we're going to have to see where they're going to meet. But it's kind of interesting that Putin was actually inviting Zelensky to come to Moscow. I highly doubt that'll ever be the case. Now, as a defender, speaking earlier with Fox News, President Donald J. Trump said that U.S. boots will not be on the ground in Ukraine, with Ukrainian security guarantees to be potentially provided by air via the United States. So Trump spoke on Fox News today. He said several things. I'll show you guys what he was talking about, but this was one of the major things he mentioned. There will be no U.S. Troops on the ground in Ukraine if we happen to see a ceasefire and this war comes to an end. No U.S. peacekeepers will be involved. It will most likely be European peacekeepers. But the U.S. is willing to provide potential air support to cover European troops on the ground in Ukraine. So that is good news. They're going to be involved in some sort of way. Now for Max 25, Trump says France, Germany, and the UK want boots on the ground as part of a security guarantee for Ukraine. Okay, so I'm hearing more reports again that European nations are still open to sending troops into Ukraine if we happen to get a ceasefire. So we've been kind of seeing back and forth reports on that. That's why I wanted to pull that up today. Trump is confirming that France, Germany, and the UK, for sure, those nations are open to having boots on the ground of their own soldiers inside of Ukraine as part of security guarantees for the Ukrainian people. So that's very good news to see. Now, Max 25, U.S. Secretary of State Rubio to lead working group on security guarantees for Ukraine, according to Wall Street Journal. The group will include national security advisors and NATO representatives. Security guarantees for Ukraine will consist of 4 key components. Military contingent, this refers to the possible deployment of allied military forces on the territory of Ukraine. Air defense will include air defense systems to protect critical infrastructure and civilian objects. Armament, supplies of modern defense weapons, including high precision missiles, and also monitoring the cessation of hostilities, mechanisms for monitoring compliance with the ceasefire. So this is big news right here. Military contingent, we just talked about that. Allied forces heading into Ukraine. Air defense, they're probably going to get more air defense systems to protect them to make sure that Russia doesn't ever attack again. And then on top of that, armament, okay, supplies of modern defense weapons. That's huge. That means that Allied forces or Western partners to Ukraine are still considering flowing weapons into Ukraine, even if this war comes to an end. And that's a big one for Ukraine. Ukraine says they will not decrease the size of their military. They will not stop producing weapons because they don't trust the Russians. They will not give the Russians the upper hand here and allow them to attack again. And Ukraine doesn't want to fall for the same old trick, basically. They weren't ready to completely fight the Russians in the beginning, but thankfully, with the hard work from the soldiers on the ground at the beginning of the war, they were able to hold the Russians back while they continued to modernize and build up their defense industry to be a much stronger defense industry today compared to what it was in the beginning of the war. So that is just absolutely huge, guys. Very good news to see right here. Now for military news UA. Macron called Putin a predator and a cannibal at the door of Europe. The French president warned that Russia has become a permanent source of destabilization, and a long-term threat to Europe. Macron stressed that Moscow invests 40% of its budget in military spending and has mobilized an army of over 1.3 million people, so it will not return to peace and democracy in one day. For his own survival, Putin needs to continue to absorb, this is a predator, this is a cannibal at our door. I'm not saying that France will be attacked tomorrow, but this is a real threat to all of Europe, he said, calling on Europeans not to be naive. Macron also noted that he does not share Trump's optimism about a possible peace agreement. When I look at the facts, I do not see that President Putin wants peace now. Perhaps I am too pessimistic, he said. So Macron coming out and stating probably what a lot of people believe or think, that Putin doesn't want real peace, right? And we see that directly with Russia's defense industry and their economy right now. Their economy is completely designed to maintain war for a long period of time. That's what their whole economy is set up to be right now. It's not set up to be a civilian economy, it's a wartime economy. So I can't see Russia just completely rolling over and returning to civilian activities, once again that quickly. I mean, a lot of their industries right now are set up to produce military weapons and whatnot. So imagine if this war were to abruptly end. I would think it would cause some major economic damage in Russia, and maybe Russia's not prepared to do that just yet, which is also why we're seeing that they're not agreeing to a ceasefire. So let me know if you think you agree with Macron's statement today. Huge statement from him. Now, military news UA. It is impossible to return Crimea to Ukraine as well as Ukraine's accession to NATO, says Trump. These were also other statements he made on Fox News today. It says there will be no American troops in Ukraine. Ukraine will receive a lot of territory. I thought that was interesting. I'm assuming that's to do with land swaps. We'll see how that works out. Zelensky must demonstrate flexibility in negotiations to end the war. I will organize a bilateral meeting between Zelensky and Putin, but I will not participate in it myself. The decisions in the negotiations will be made by Putin and Zelensky. The Americans are far from the conflict. I hope everything will work out with Putin. If not, the situation will be difficult. So you can see Trump really just taking a step back here and saying, we're just doing the best we can to support Russia and Ukraine, get them together at the table to negotiate and kind of let them do what they need to do. Let Zelensky make his own decisions on Ukraine. Are they going to give up territory or are they not? What are they going to do? Work all those details out with Putin. And this is also something that Zelensky was mentioning a lot yesterday as well. So these are kind of good statements to be hearing from Trump today. Now, Max 25, Trump says, I did not call Putin in front of European leaders. I thought that would be disrespectful to Putin. So this is interesting. We heard reports that Trump was calling Putin during the meeting of European leaders yesterday, even with Zelensky there, I believe, as well. That now we have reports today, Trump saying that that was not the case, that he did not call Putin, that apparently he called after he spoke to European leaders. But we have this report today also from War Translated. It says the White House released footage of Trump calling Putin and hosting European leaders in the Oval Office. Everyone had their own mood, but it seems the Prime Minister of Italy wasn't particularly pleased. So look at this photo right here. It looks like Trump is on the phone. He's got the phone off the hook, laying on his desk here, and it looks like he's speaking into the phone. So I'm not sure if he really was calling Putin. Again, some reports were saying he was, some say he wasn't. So I can't completely confirm that. But these were just some pictures coming out from the White House yesterday as European leaders were here meeting with Trump. This was like the third set of negotiations. These were like closed door meetings, actually, after the press was involved in most of the talks between Trump and Zelensky and European partners. But there's Zelensky right there. And again, as far as I know, he could have called Putin during this meeting. Maybe he didn't. But there's just some pictures right there. Now let's move on to military news UA. There will be no sharp reduction in the army after the end of the war, Ukrainian Defense Minister Shmyhal reports. Ukraine is discussing with partners the size of the armed forces of Ukraine after the war. The number of personnel could be as high as 1 million, as low as 800,000, or even less. So here's just video footage coming out today from Ukraine. This was Denis Shmyhal, the former Prime Minister of Ukraine and now the Defense Minister. So he's coming out today and announcing that Ukraine's not going to be decreasing the size of their army. If anything, they might up that. They might boost it up to past 800,000 or 1 million troops, even if this war comes to an end. Again, they do not trust the Russians at all, and I don't blame them. As Russia even claimed in the beginning, they were not going to attack Ukraine, and then they went ahead and attacked them anyway. So I completely understand how Ukraine feels about this, and they're not going to be decreasing the size of their army even one bit. If anything, they're going to increase it. Now, Ukrainian Review, Zelensky says, I believe we should meet without any preconditions because we start demanding a ceasefire first. Russia will come up with 100 other conditions. The issue of territories is a matter that we will leave between me and Putin. This was Zelensky outside the White House yesterday speaking to the press that apparently he's also on board somewhat now, at least, to not agree to a ceasefire right away and kind of go into peace negotiations. Trump made a statement yesterday saying that, peace negotiations aren't necessarily, not peace negotiations, but a ceasefire is not necessarily needed to end this war right away, that he solved numerous other conflicts without a ceasefire and went straight to peace negotiations. So Zelensky is kind of looking like he's on board with that now, but also saying that the issue of territories, discussing territory, land swaps, anything like that, will be discussed between Putin and Zelensky directly. Now, Max 25, Zelensky, after his meeting with Trump, no unacceptable decisions were made. We will open the export of Ukrainian long range drones to the US and Europe, says Zelensky. So, big statement here saying that no unacceptable decisions were made. So, that's good. It seems like Trump really did not pressure Zelensky into giving up land or anything like that. So, that's good to see that. That means their relationship is just a lot stronger now. Trump is more understanding of the situation, more just being support system versus like drilling Zelensky and making him agree to demands that Ukraine is not going to agree to. And then also talking about the export of Ukrainian long range drones to the U.S. Apparently, they're going to start selling a lot of drones to the U.S. now. There's a report that actually came out yesterday on that. We're going to kind of briefly go over this as well from Status 6. According to the document presented by the Ukrainian side at the White House meeting, seen by Financial Times, Ukraine will not accept any deal including territorial concessions to Russia and insists on a ceasefire as the first step towards a full peace agreement. Kiev also rejects the proposal Putin made to Trump in Alaska to freeze the rest of the front line if Ukraine withdraws troops from the partly occupied Donetsk and Luhansk Oblasts. And also, Ukraine insists in it being full compensation from Russia for wartime damages, potentially paid for by 300 billion in Russian sovereign assets frozen in Western countries. Ukraine will commit itself to purchase 100 billion of American weapons financed by Europe in a bid to obtain US guarantees for its security after a peace settlement with Russia. And then finally, Kiev and Washington will conclude a $50 billion deal to produce drones from Ukrainian companies or with Ukrainian companies. So here's a report today. Ukraine offers 100 billion weapons deal to Trump to win security guarantees. Document seen by the Financial Times lays out Kiev's proposals to U.S. President at crucial White House meeting. So yeah, these were some of the proposals coming out from the Ukrainian side. So they were open to purchasing 100 billion of American weapons financed by Europe. It says right here. In exchange of getting U.S. security guarantees. So they're going to get a lot of weapons from the U.S. U.S. will give them security guarantees. And then on top of that, 50 billion also to produce drones for the U.S. coming from Ukrainian companies. So that is huge as well. Major investment for Ukraine to start selling drones to the U.S. And I'm sure their partnership will grow over time. And then aside from that, talking about damages that the Russians created inside of Ukraine, they want 300 billion, for the damages inside of Ukraine that Russian forces have caused from all these attacks and whatnot. So yeah, just major report coming out yesterday, but we're going to be seeing some huge investments from both sides. With Ukraine and the U.S. in the future with drones, just purchasing all these weapons, getting security guarantees. So huge report that broke yesterday. Now Volodymyr Zelensky reports today. Yesterday, important talks took place in Washington with the President of the United States and European leaders. This was truly a significant step toward ending the war and ensuring the security of Ukraine and our people. We are already working on the concrete content of the security guarantees. Today, we continue coordination at the level of leaders. There will be discussions, and we are preparing the relevant formats. We will also continue working tomorrow. National security advisors are also in constant contact now. There will be security guarantees. I thank all our partners for their determination and support. Ukraine feels this strength. We will do everything to make path to peace a reality through partnership, through security guarantees, and through the courage of the Ukrainian people. What a wonderful statement coming out from Zelensky. Here's pictures from the meeting yesterday at the White House that were coming out as Zelensky met with European leaders and Trump. And this is his statement today that there will be security guarantees. Okay, and that's huge because that's number one for Ukraine before they can agree to anything. They want to make sure that Russia's not going to attack them or be a threat to Ukraine ever again. Okay, and in order for them to do that, they need very strong security guarantees, not only from Europe, but directly from the U.S., and that's what we heard yesterday. We already know Europe is willing to give security guarantees over to Ukraine, and Trump stated yesterday that the U.S. will get involved in that effort. We just don't know to what extent yet, but we do know for sure they will not send troops into Ukraine. Most likely some sort of air support, intelligence of that nature, something like that will help out Ukraine. Now, from Visioner, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says today if Zelensky values the Ukrainian constitution so much, then he should remember the articles that oblige him to protect the rights of Russian citizens. The Russian Federation has never aimed to occupy Crimea, Donbass, or Novorossiya, as Donbass is called. Its main task was to protect the Russian people. The meeting between Putin and Trump in Alaska showed that American president's team is sincerely trying to achieve long-term results. So we got Lavrov today, the foreign minister out of Russia, making some statements. These are some of the things that he stated here. And the big one that caught my eye here is the Russians stating that they never intended to occupy Crimea, the Donbass, or I guess they call it Novorossiya is another term for the Donbass, but that pretty much includes Luhansk and Donetsk regions of Ukraine. They're claiming they never seek to control those territories, yet that's exactly what they're trying to do. So let me know if you believe that today. But yeah, just a few statements coming out from Lavrov. Wanted to share those with you guys so that way you hear what's coming out from the Russian side today. Now from Bliskovka, NATO military leaders to meet tomorrow to discuss Ukraine and next steps, according to Reuters. Allied Chief of Staff Greenwich will brief participants on the results of the recent meeting between Trump and Putin in Alaska. Okay, so NATO leaders going to be meeting tomorrow to discuss how things went yesterday. And this is great because that means that way they can all get on board, find out what's going on, who's going to be doing what, who's going to get involved in operations inside of Ukraine to ensure their sovereignty if we get a ceasefire. Looks like NATO is preparing that and doing whatever they can to get involved and prepare for this potential end to the war. Hopefully that's going to be the case and we don't see Russia sabotage anything, but based on what we're seeing coming out from the West and also from Ukraine, they are very open to trying to end this war right now. Let's see if Russia steps up to the plate and jumps on board and tries to end this as well. Now, NOAA reports overnight, August 18th to the 19th, Russia launched 280 air targets at Ukraine, 270 Shahed drones, 5 Iskander-M missiles, and 5 Kh-101 cruise missiles. Air defense, electronic warfare units, and mobile fire groups shot down or suppressed 236 of them, including 230 drones, 2 Iskanders, and 4 Kh-101s. Strikes and debris were recorded at 19 locations. Crazy amount, 236 out of 270 drones being suppressed or shot down. We did have a lot of strikes inside of Kremenchuk overnight, but we're still seeing, whenever Russia launches a massive attack like this, we see a good majority being shot down. That means a lot of these interceptor drones that Ukraine is using is very effective at destroying many of these drones. So yeah, we can see a few of these missiles were shot down as well, but otherwise we did have at least one missile look like that struck the Kremenchuk oil refinery overnight, and we're still waiting to see the extent of the damage there, as it looks like that oil refinery got hit very hard. Now, Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of August 19th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In our final update of the day, Russia's losses as of August 19th, 890 troops, 123 vehicles and fuel tanks, 66 artillery systems, 209 UAVs, 1 MLRS, and 1 special equipment. All right, so very low numbers today, guys. 1 special equipment. Usually we don't see anything here in this category, but there was one today. MLRS, that's like almost an entire week now. We've seen at least 1 multiple launch rocket system being destroyed. Aside from that, 66 artillery systems, up a little bit today. Usually you see about 20 to 30 in that category. Look at that, tanks and AFVs, nothing today. 0 in these categories. 123 vehicles and fuel tanks, up a little bit, more than normal. And then troop numbers, about the same that we've been seeing, right about 900 to 1,000 on average. So major updates today, guys. I'm going to continue to follow the reports coming out regarding the meeting between Putin and Zelenskyy. If I get a date and a location, I will let you guys know where they're going to be meeting and when. But right now, the big question is Putin going to be meeting with Zelenskyy, or is he going to back out and continue the fighting inside of Ukraine? It's going to make him look really bad, and it's going to force Trump to make some sort of decision on how to respond to Vladimir Putin if he decides not to engage in peace talks with Ukraine. So big news coming out today. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. But that's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. With that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.